What is up? Welcome back to another live stream repair. Let's shoot a message to our first one up here. And we'll get started. Here we go. And we've got Nelson after this one. We'll go ahead and shoot them a message so they've got it. There we go. Alright, so we've got RK and Nelson with bricked HomePods that took a successful USB restorer yesterday's stream and ran out of time to do much more yesterday, so we're going to go ahead and knock out the hardware maintenance that they opted for and get these apart so that we can see if it needs a new diode for preventing the no power issue, and it's getting new filters for sure, since all of those ceramic capacitors naturally age and go bad over time and lead to death farts and bass issues. But that diode, only a particular batch of those diodes fail, and we know which ones that is, so we'll replace the diode if it needs it, but those filters are going to get replaced either way. We'll button it back up with a solid subwoofer, or solid rubber subwoofer gasket, and we'll do the same to Nelson's. And I believe the rest of the repairs up for today are all also no power. But I might be mistaken. We will see. So, 18.2 came out today. It took a few minutes for the various websites that share the download links and firmware signing statuses to update, but as soon as they did, I made myself some 18.2 keys and then grabbed the 18.2 OTA file for the HomePod, grabbed the 18.2 restore file for the Apple TV 5.3, waved my magic wand, and to my surprise, didn't need to make any other changes. I can still restore OG HomePods with our USB adapter with a pre-built 18.2 using our existing methods. Quite a relief. I always get real nervous about what kind of changes may have been introduced that would require an unknown amount of work to get everything usable again, but great news, it seems like there's really not much anything you gotta do. That's different. I'll be putting up the 18.2 firmware file in the GitHub guide soon if you want to try it out. Be one of the first to help us out and confirm that it works for more than just me. I've got a link in my Discord server for you to try it out. I wouldn't suggest just doing it for fun, but at least while 18.1 is still being signed, if you run into problems, you can still restore 18.1 back on there. Cursed thread locker. Yeah, I'm curious if any of you have updated to 18.2 on your HomePods yet, and what your experience has been. Have you had issues with 18.0 and 18.1? I personally have not, but I've seen plenty of other people say otherwise, so it's hard for me to say that it fixed or improved anything if everything was already pretty much working fine. There's also the 2nd gen HomePod and the HomePod minis that have ghost touch / phantom touch issues that a few people have been speculating are caused by a firmware issue. And I'm curious if 18.2 addresses any of that for folks. People say that they didn't see problems with ghost touches on their minis until the 2nd gens came out. Not sure what to make of that, if that's true or a meaningful coincidence or just that, a coincidence. I updated all of my OG HomePods, and I've got a couple of minis. They all updated to 18.2 fine. No issues here, at least for the updates over the air. Four fresh new filters to keep the death farts away. Very good. Quite perfect. What's the date code on our diode? We've got a 36K there, so that's not going to fail. We don't need to replace that. Let's get this back together. Oh, what happened to my... What a day for malfunctions. Look at my bald head. Is that better? There we go. It's the first time I've ever had that problem. Let's see, does this, yep, that still works. I can switch back and forth. Huh, very strange. Hope it doesn't happen again. Alright. Let's make sure we didn't break anything. And then up next, we're going to do the same thing for Nelson here. Theirs took a successful USB restore yesterday, and they opted for the extra hardware maintenance to make sure it stays going for as long as possible. Very good. Alright, and then we'll shoot Mark a message so they can watch theirs when it comes up next. I'll have a mark. Oh, yes I do. Let's see. Let's see here. Their phone number. Here we go. Alright. Same deal with Nelson. Same deal with Nelson here. Let's get it apart. Replace the stuff that loves to go bad. And then we'll move on to some actual repairs here. Alright, another one without a ready-to-die diode. It's got a date code of 26K here, so we need to worry about replacing that. It's not like it's going to fail. We will take care of these filters, however, because they all go bad whether they're being used or not. That's just natural. They filter DC, then they go bad. Just, it's part of their nature. They are MLCC ceramic capacitors, and the way that they age is they just sort of decay by their crystalline structure sort of relaxing over time, is my understanding. There's two things you can do about it. You can't avoid it, but you can repair the original filters by bringing them up to their Curie temperature for a few minutes, or you can just replace them with new ones, and that's what we like to do. I don't like to try to make the old ones work again. For all we know, Apple used a less than ideal part here, one that just doesn't last as long as it should, so we replace it with what we found to work appropriately and in theory last much longer. They'll still need replaced again at some point, but here we go. The replacements should at least outlast the originals. They should last way longer. Perfect. Alright, and like I said, those diodes only fail because of a particular batch of them weren't made very well. Those Schottky diodes are otherwise very reliable parts. They don't fail on their own like we've been seeing with certain date codes. So that's it for this one. We'll get it back together with a new subwoofer gasket. And then it's on to the next one. HomePod 2? Nah, no HomePod 2s here. We only got HomePod 1s here. You keep your HomePod 2 away from here. We don't like HomePod 2s here. I'll always take a look at a broken HomePod no matter what generation it is, but our specialty is the OG. Oh, did you guys see Linus Tech Tips release a precision screwdriver? Looks quite fancy, looks a little tempting even. I'm curious if the magnet on it is stronger than the one that iFixit uses. I like that it pops out and you can store a couple of bits in there. What I don't like is it looks like this area is thicker on the Tech Tips one than the iFixit one here. And I need as this to be as thin as possible to squeeze in between these capacitors. Otherwise, I gotta go at an angle like you see here, and then the screw doesn't go in, and then we're sitting here for 2 minutes fighting one screw. This one barely fits as it is, and that's why you don't see us using the electric driver in here, because it doesn't really fit all of them. So I'd have to switch between the electric and the manual to get all the amp screws out, and I'd rather just keep one driver in my hand. And oh, good grief, come on. There we go. The amp screw's the most fiddly, which is ironic because they're the small. Well, I guess that makes sense. They are the smallest, but Yeah. Are we still able to restore with 18.2? I can personally confirm. Indeed, you can. I'll be updating the guide soon with fresh links for the latest IPSW so you all can get your greasy little nubbins on it and get back to restoring those HomePods. In the meantime, 18.1 is still being signed for now. So if you have any issues with 18.2, you can still roll back for now. I bet you in a week or so they'll take 18.1 down. Alright. We've got all the yesterday stuff caught up. Let's move on to Mark here with no power. After that, let's see, we've got C next. Let's shoot them a link to watch. Let's see if that's their phone number. And then awesome. Okay. We have messaged the next repair up. We're ready to go. Mark here with no power, no lights, no nothing. We got a couple of watts from the wall. That all looks like the usual dead diode that we've seen here thousands of times before. And I'm sure we'll see it probably a few thousand times more at least. One HomePod at a time. I'll fix them all, I swear. Might take me a minute to get through them all, but I'll do it. That one put up a fight. Jeez, and then some. Flinging parts everywhere. Nope, this morning I checked, of course, if 18.2 was out, and I didn't see anything. And then a few hours later, I get a ping from none other than David himself, one of the guys that figured out how to assemble a restorable IPSW for these things. But he let me know that 18.2 was out, and he was curious if we needed to make any fixes, or if we could just use our existing steps to build a new 18.2 IPSW and restore it. Sure enough, it worked. Had a bit of a scare for a second. It gave me the blinking volume buttons the first time I turned it on, but surprisingly it reset, so I wonder if there could be a few reasons why it did that. But in any case, I was able to restore with 18.2 using an IPSW that I built by combining the OTA file for the OG HomePod and the 18.2 full restore firmware file that's available for the 2015 Apple TV. And you gotta make a key file too, but that's easy. It's all pretty easy now that I know how it's done to keep things up to date. Waiting for the day that they push some huge change that really challenges how we work around it. Up close. Let's knock out some maintenance first. Give it some new fart filters to keep the bass speaker nice and healthy. These naturally decay over time, whether they're being used or not. They go bad. We like to stay ahead of that. We'll get them replaced before they cause the subwoofer to need to be replaced. Right on. Now let's knock out that dead diode. There it is, our favorite 46K date code. Yeah, man, it's not the money that I was so motivated to find a fix for the blinking volume buttons and software issues. The motivation behind that was purely wanting a way to be able to fix it if something happened to my own. And by that, a way to fix, everyone else's too. But I started fixing these things because I wanted a way to fix my own and fix them for myself. I never thought I'd be fixing so many other people's, let alone 3 years later, and however many we've done by now. But thank you guys for being so freaking great and all that. Never would have expected to deal with, it feels wrong to call you guys, to call people, these people's HomePods like customers. It feels wrong to call them that. I'm here for the same reason as you. I want to be able to fix these. There we go.
I'm having trouble connecting to the... I'm having trouble...
Very good, very good. Up next is C here. They've also got no power. Let's see for ourselves. Pun intended. No lights, no power, no nothing other than a couple of watts being pulled from the wall. Let's get that fixed up. First up, a little bit of maintenance with some new DC filters to keep the death farts away. Alright, filters replaced. Let's get that dead diode out of here. 48K for this one. For those keeping track at home. Alright. should make for one happy HomePod. Very nice.
I'm having trouble connecting. I'm having trouble.
Very nice. We're chugging along, we're getting through it. I believe in ourselves. Actually, hold on. Okay. So it looks like we've got a brick here from Warehouse Graphics. Let's see what it does for us. Let me make sure that's the right name. Yes, okay. Warehouse Graphics. Where you can go get all of your warehouse graphics needs. From vinyls to store signs to NVIDIA GTX 3080s. Warehouse Graphics. Printed graphics. Computer graphics. All the graphics you could need. No, I don't actually know. I don't know what they do, but feel free to look into them. If you are watching Mr. Warehouse Graphics, feel free to plug what you do in the chat there. You are more than welcome. There it is. We've got the blinkies. What a perfect opportunity to demonstrate restoring with the latest 18.2 firmware. Let's expose the base of this. So that we can connect our restore cable. I did already test my 18.2 IPSW that I made earlier, and now you can restore with 18.2 the same way that we can with 18.1. It's great news. The question is Mr. Warehouse Graphics here going to be able to restore it all? Or is it more than just a software issue? Let's pull up the Mac here. And my IP, of course, it changes every time. I still need to set a static IP on this thing. Okay, let's turn that on. There we go. And we are signed in. Let me fix the screen here. Very good. Let's get rid of that so you can see what I'm doing here. We're going to plug our USB cable from our HomePod into our computer. We're going to plug our power cable into the HomePod with it upside down. And on our computer here, we're going to go to terminal and run gaster pwn. And then we're going to run gaster reset. That puts the HomePod in a state that allows us to upload our firmware image that we built for 18.2. We're going to run iDevice restore -D for extra debug logs in case anything goes wrong, we can see it. -E to erase restore, -Y to confirm the erase prompt. And then I'm going to point to my IPSW 18.2. Fingers crossed, we've got just a software issue with Mr. Warehouse here. Let's see. That's a good sign. Yes. Awesome. So far so good. It looks like Mr. Warehouse here was taken down by nothing other than funky software. Or perhaps an interrupted software update. Maybe they lost power while they were automatically updating overnight. Happens all the time. They do have a built-in recovery partition that generally handles recovering from unbootable software issues fairly well. But that said, it's not perfect, and the fact that not only have us plebeians outside of Apple found a way to do this ourselves, but the fact that Apple continues to not support any way for their stores to do it, or they're telling their customers that this is a hardware issue that they have to pay an out-of-warranty full replacement fee for. Doesn't sit right with me. Don't do this. Be the good guys. Well, that is very exciting. We've got progress on our software restore. Let's see, did they opt for maintenance? Let's find out. Yes, they said go ahead with maintenance. If it takes the software restore, we want to keep it going for as long as possible, so we will do that after it finishes here. This will actually take a few minutes, so I think what we'll do is set this. I'm going to set my computer to the side here. Oh, I should probably put Do Not Disturb on so you guys don't, I don't want you guys getting my notifications. Okay. I'm going to put this to the side. Hopefully I don't disturb the cable too much. Beautiful. And we are going to multitask here. We're going to try to make the best of our time. There we go. And here's Medellin's HomePod, the last one of the day. Let's see how far we can get into this before that finishes restoring, and then when we're done, we'll swap things around and get this one all hardware maintenance done. Let's see, I need a power cable. No lights, no power, no nothing. And I'm borrowing my power cable for the one connected to the kilowatt meter, so I will take a guess that this one is the usual dead diode. It's a pretty safe guess to make. Statistically, more than 9 out of every 10 of these no power HomePods that we get in is the same faulty diode. And that diode is only failing because there was a bad batch of them floating around out there. It's not like every HomePod has one inside, but quite a lot of them do. So we'll go ahead and get this all fixed up, and then we'll be doing likely the same thing to Mr. Warehouse Graphics here. Oops. There you go. All right. Because we don't want to, like, I already feel bad enough charging people money to plug a USB cable into my computer and essentially click restore. So, we're going to make it worthwhile for them. We don't want to charge them money for all that work just for it to have some kind of preventable hardware failure down the line. So just like Medellins here will be getting their warehouse taken apart, we will replace the DC filters that naturally age and decay over time and lead to death farts. And we'll replace that diode, assuming it's got the same one. That often fails and causes no power. Oh, looks like I might have bumped something there. Let's go ahead and restart that restore. Try that again. We'll pwn it, we'll reset it, and we'll restore it. Gotta be careful not to bump those cables. Okay. Subwoofer looks and smells good. A bad subwoofer might not smell bad, but a good subwoofer is never going to smell bad. So that's why I give everybody's subwoofer a little sniff. Nothing weird, although I do like the smell of a good electronic. I wouldn't recommend people do it themselves. Who knows what kind of cancer I'm giving myself. But I'll sniff those subwoofers so you don't have to. Alright. Let's go ahead and replace the filters on this amplifier first. We got the same error halfway through that restore again. No data to read timeout. Just to be sure, I'm pretty sure I tried 18.2 earlier. That was working fine. But let me try the old IPSW just in case. Yep, there's when I made it. And there's me trying it. So the 18.2 definitely works. I have a feeling there is, unfortunately, some kind of hardware issue going on with this HomePod. But we're going to try the other IPSW just to be sure. This one's tried and true. The other one I've only been able to try once. So let's see. Fingers crossed. If it doesn't take the restore, that's not the end of the world. I've got plenty of replacement logic boards for it. We'll get it fixed one way or another. Oh, there it is. Interesting. Nitrogen amp control failure to flash. So I wonder if we just got to keep trying this until we can get a successful update to 18.1 and then it'll work on 18.2. Let's try this again. I will not give up. I'll give up on the software restore when I see an error that specifically I've seen for hardware issues before. But so far all I'm seeing are one-off software issues still. Alright, filters replaced. Let's get their dead diode. For those keeping track at home, their diode is date coded 46K. Let's see if it gets past, 24, 26% is when it kept failing. Well, looking good. If it hits 30%, I'll feel great about it. Yes, it's going. Well, that's interesting. I wonder why it was refusing to take 18.2 on this one. Maybe if we just kept trying, it would have worked. But hey, that's great for me. I don't have to replace the logic board. I always favor being able to fix as much as I can more than having to replace anything. Let's see, can I put this back together before that finishes restoring? It's a race. You're on, Apple. I think it's gonna beat me. But I'll give it an honest effort. Alright, I'm sorry, I'll stop. You guys got the HomePods for the music. You don't tune in to listen to me sing. That's what the HomePods are for. Hey, who sings that song? Oh, keep it that way. Oh. My mom said that to one of my sisters once, I think. Absolutely brutal. Nah, it's gonna beat us. It's gonna beat us. It's gonna win. Oh, I just need like 3 or 4 more minutes and I could beat it. but it's going to be done in like another minute. Oh, it's resending it. That's not a good sign. Our hopes were high, but I think Warehouse is gonna need a new logic board. Well, on the bright side, I beat it. I finished before it did. So what's happening is it's able to send the whole restore image to the HomePod, but once it tries to invert the image to command, it fails. So it tries again. And it'll keep trying, but it's not gonna work. Looks like it actually hung again there. Alright, not a big deal. A bit of a roller coaster for Warehouse there, but we'll get it working. All right. You are alive and well. Once we confirm this is working, we'll come back to Warehouse here and get them all fixed up with the same hardware repairs to keep it going, and then we'll put it back together with a working logic board. Since it seems like that one is it's tricking us. It's giving us hope, and then it's ripping it away right towards the finish line.
I'm having trouble connecting. I'm having trouble.
All right, this one looks good. The last melon. Here we go. There we go. Here is the brain per se. This is what stores the software, and what has likely failed and is preventing us from restoring that software. So we're going to get this torn down the rest of the way, and we will do a little bit of maintenance. Dripped a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in there. That's to help when we go to pry this speaker basket up. It's glued down quite thoroughly, and the alcohol makes it a lot easier to pry up. How's that subwoofer? Very nice. No worries there. right up close. Let's go ahead and get those filters replaced first so they don't go bad after we send this back to them with a new logic board and then it dies from death farts. Oh, almost forgot. Let's see what date code's on our diode here. Ooh, we've got a 48K there, so had we not gotten this HomePod in for its current issues, it surely would have come back to us at some point for this diode failing and causing no power. Let's get that replaced with a brand new, bigger, better one, so it never fails. The flux, that's the liquid you see us putting on the board and on these parts. The flux doesn't help us take anything off. I'm just saving myself a step of putting the flux on there when we put the replacement diode on there. But the flux is critical with getting a proper, good, quality solder connection. You've got two types of solder connection. You've got a cold solder joint and a proper one. They call them cold because there was corrosion in between the components that you soldered together. So they didn't create an actual alloy bonding them together. Instead, they have a purely mechanical connection, basically like holding hands without your fingers interlocked. With flux, the flux will react with the heat and the corrosion that immediately builds up on your copper and solder surfaces, and it removes that corrosion so that a proper bond can be made. Think about it like this. With no flux and you've got corrosion on your solder pads, pretend my hands are, let's say this is a diode and this is the board. Without flux, there's corrosion on these parts. And when you go to put them together, they're basically going to do this. And you can just pull them right back apart. That's a cold solder joint. With flux, it cleans that corrosion off and allows them to actually create a new metal that's actually an alloy between the parts. It holds them together like interlocking fingers. Many years, I've been a tinkerer, self-repairer. I always fixed my own stuff and things for friends and family here and there, but I only ever wielded a soldering iron. And I didn't really understand what I was doing. I just, you get the solder hot, you melt wires together, and it usually works. It was when I learned about flux and how soldering actually works that we were able to really take it to the next level and do more intricate repairs like this that require hot air and reflowing lots of small components. Flux is the magic sauce. It's what makes this look a lot easier. Things will just seem to flow right where they need to go. And don't count on the flux that's baked into your solder. Get yourself a dedicated tube of no clean so that you don't have to worry about it getting somewhere that you didn't clean up and it corroding eventually. If you want to learn more about the basics of soldering, if you don't have a fundamental understanding of how soldering works, then I recommend, heck, even if you think you've got a few years of experience under your belt, you may learn something new. Check out the PACE, P-A-C-E, YouTube channel. They have a bunch of really old videos of basics of soldering. And I can attribute most of my soldering successes and understanding to that particular playlist from PACE. Really old stuff. It's like, some of it's black and white, I think, almost. I might be completely mistaken, but in any case, I really like the older educational content because they kind of tend to just break things down really simple with easy to understand, infographics and all that. Like the old 60s and 70s infomercials that GM would put out that were like part advertisements for their cars, but also part explaining to the consumer what a particular part did, like the strut or the differential. And it was like, look at this strut or differential and how you can take a turn without both wheels having to rotate at the same rate. Now standard on all Chevys. Oh, and how like a transmission works. Like, oh, I love that stuff. That's one of my favorite pastimes, was to watch a bunch of old infomercials and educational videos on YouTube. I do this not for fun, although it is fun, but if things aren't sealed to this point, then I don't want to have to take it all back apart. And I can hear if it's not sealed, air will hiss past it when I do that. Everything from there up doesn't matter, none of it's sealed. That's why we don't have to replace the glue holding this basket down either. It doesn't have anything to do with sealing the HomePod at all, actually. because there's a gasket underneath it that does the job. If the glue was supposed to seal the HomePod together, it would have had a more even application. And by that I mean that there's no way that the glue, the way that they've been putting it on these, would provide any functional seal if the gasket actually fails underneath it. So I don't even think it was put there for redundancy. I think it was purely well, you know what I'm going to say. I would like to be wrong, though. I would love to pick the brains of the engineers that made the decisions for how this was put together. Oh, silly me. We do not want to reuse this. This does not work. I'll put that in my pile of logic boards to hopefully figure out one day. Let me grab a black logic board. Okay. And let me make sure I'm actually grabbing the right color here. What color? Oh, I turned my Bluetooth off. Oh, it's a white one. We need a black logic board. I'm sure for most people it doesn't matter. The only time you see the color of the HomePod in the software is when you first set it up. And if you go to your settings, Apple ID, connected devices, I think it shows the color there too. But if I can help it, I like to match the color that they've got, obviously. I'll go ahead and put that this one's a white one. There we go. We've got a black HomePod logic board there. Let's wrap this up. And the finishing touches. All right. There we go. Folks, that's all I've got the time for here and now. We've, of course, always got more waiting to get fixed. If yours showed up today and you haven't heard from me yet, hang tight, you will soon. If I just fixed your HomePod during this stream, hang tight, you'll hear from me soon. Yeah, 18.2. Feel free to leave a comment or a chat in the live stream before I end it in a few seconds here with your experience, if you've updated already, if you had any problems, if it fixed it or made anything better or worse. And that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed this live stream repair, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.